Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and all my non-cisgendered brick buddies out there, welcome to another fabulous episode of PJ Builds Bricks. Now, as I hope you know by now, my name's PJ. I certainly hope I'm PJ anyway. If not, I'm probably having some sort of identity crisis. And there's some other things going on. But you know what? You haven't tuned into the PJ Therapy Hour. You've tuned into PJ Builds Bricks. And we're here to play with and talking about, of course, Legos. And guess what, guys? You've stuck with me this entire journey, and we have finally reached the end of it. This is the last episode in the series where we are building the LEGO Space Shuttle Discovery set. We've come such a long way. We have the Hubble, we have the Discovery just about finished off, and what we're doing today is we're going to be finishing up the cockpit right here. Just closing it in and building the upper level of it. Now, the upper level is where most of the flight crew is going to be seated. That's also the same level where you're going to find the joysticks, the yokes, the buttons, the panels, the levers, the screens. Everything you need to fly a space shuttle is going to be in this top level right here. We're also going to be building a piece that's not on the actual shuttle itself. It's just meant to help the display. It's a little stand that's going to go back here in the cargo bay. That's going to help us display the Hubble telescope inside the cargo bay right here. It's going to look really cool. But I'll show you guys towards the end of that video what that's going to look like. Now this bag, number 17, has got 19 steps and 80 pieces. And, you know, we've come a long way, and I do know it's been a long wait from my last video to this one. I understand that. I'm sorry. But I've gone through a lot of changes in the PJ Builds Bricks labs, or TV studios, or whatever we're calling this thing. And I've done some cool stuff, made a lot of upgrades. So this episode is going to be really cool. I also worked on something really special. Let's see, what else is there? Oh, of course, we can't forget my wonderful build beverage today. It's Liquid Death. This stuff is amazing. I love it. I'm going to have a sip of that. Cheers. It's delicious. Murder your thirst with Liquid Death. God, I wish they were a sponsor and sent me free products. Not a hint or anything. Anyway, before we get started, of course, I do have to let you guys know that I am very proud to announce I have finally figured out how to make this green screen work. Ready? Check this out. 3, 2, 1. Whoa! Check it out. I told you I got this green screen stuff perfectly, right? Here we are right in front of NASA, like the greatest place. And look, this is how good my green screen skills have gotten. I can completely walk around this globe. Isn't that awesome? Just kidding, I'm actually here at the Kennedy Space Center Visitors Complex, and that's right, I told you guys I was going to have something special, and here we are at the actual Kennedy Space Center. We're going to be talking about a little bit the space shuttles, we're going to be talking about some of the history that's going on here, and of course we're going to be finishing off, I should say, the LEGO Discovery and Hubble Telescope build set. So sit back, chill out, and enjoy. Alright guys, so check it out. Here we are at the Rocket Garden. This is one of the first things you see when you come into Kennedy Space Center, and it's got basically the most famous rockets they've used throughout the space program. So here we have the Mercury capsule. Walk around a little bit, you see a couple other things, and I'm actually going to try to get into some of these tiny little capsules later on. But here we got the Gemini capsule, or the Gemini launch rocket for that program. And down here, of course, we have the Saturn V rocket, which took us to the moon. That's also a LEGO set that you can get, and I have it sitting on my mantle. It's a very fun build, so if you get a chance to pick it up, I would highly recommend it. But, I mean, the Rocket Garden is just a thing of beauty. It's got rockets from all different eras of space flight, and it is so cool. It's even got one of the ULA rockets over there. It's really neat. All right, so if there's one thing you got to know about rocketry, it's that, as you can see, rockets are big. However, capsules are very, very, very small. This is the Mercury capsule that was part of the very beginnings of the space program that took the first American up into space. So I'm going to try to squeeze myself in here. This is not for the faint of heart or claustrophobic. Oh god. Whew. So imagine you're in this just tiny ass capsule, and I'm not even sitting down, but they had to lay down right here and their feet went there. So you're just stuck in this little capsule flying into space. That is terrifying. And look, so here's your little window. Of course, that was patched up. But as you're flying into space, you have to somehow reach up and touch all these buttons and do various things. I don't know what to say. I mean, I'm cramped. I'm feeling claustrophobic. I am getting the heck out of here, and we're going to upgrade to a bigger capsule. What do you say? That last one I showed you was the Mercury capsule, and it kind of reminded me of my first apartment. It was about the same size. This here is the Gemini capsule. Now, they made this one slightly bigger because, as you can see, there are 2 seats in here meant for 2 astronauts. And this one's a little bit easier to get into. But you can see here, you just kind of sit down. You're still really cramped. Like this, there's the floor. I go up here, and there is the top of it. You know, the same thing. You launch, you hit various buttons, things happen. But just to give you an idea, here's me. Here's the astronaut I'm sitting next to. There's 2 dudes in this little tiny capsule floating around the Earth. As you can see, there's no shower. There's no bathroom. This is about it. So I would imagine it got pretty funky in this thing after a little bit. But at least it's slightly bigger. I mean, this would still probably be about $5,000 a month in New York City. But we're getting to bigger accommodations. All right, guys, so we talked a little bit about the capsules of the past, but what you see in front of me is the capsule of the future. This is the Orion spacecraft. It was designed and made by Lockheed Martin. Now, this is part of the Artemis program that NASA has, I mean, for lack of a better term, launched. This is going to be our return to space, at least as far as NASA is concerned, because SpaceX has done a job getting astronauts back into space. But this Orion spacecraft is going to hold somewhere between 2 and 6 people and can actually remain in space for up to 21 days, not docked to the International Space Station, and can stay up there for about 6 months when it's docked. But you can see the windows there. It's designed a little bit bigger than the other capsules, especially the tiny ones that I was in. And yeah, they've done their test launches, and the first crewed launch is slated to come up in late November. So keep an eye out on that as part of the Artemis space program, and hopefully our eventual return to the moon. And of course, as you all know, at the heart of this all, I mean, space is fun, but it is a LEGO vlog video series. So I would be remiss if I did not show some Legos. And here we have a fully scaled built replica of the Mars exploration logo, you know, with the visitor on top for scale, of course. And these are modeled, this was modeled after the Spirit and Opportunity rovers, which were launched to Mars in January 2004.
Imagine doing anything else.
So it's pretty neat. It's something to check out if you ever get to Kennedy. And there it is, made completely out of Legos. All right, guys, so I know this whole time we've been working on building the Space Shuttle Discovery, but check this out. NASA, while it doesn't house the Space Shuttle Discovery itself, that's in Washington, it does house the Space Shuttle Atlantis. So we're going to go in to check this out in a little bit. But before that, you know what I think we need to do? I think we need to start building this project and finishing it up. Alright guys, that is going to do it. We have finished off the Discovery and therefore finished off the set. So that's really cool. Now, I did mention there were a couple different ways to display the shuttle. I know I talked to you guys in earlier videos about just kind of putting this thing on its landing gear and displaying it that way. So you can do that. That's an option. Boop. Right there like that. Of course, you put the landing gear up. You can put it on its display stool that we built way back in like episode 1. And that's going to hook in down here. And you have a nice little dynamic thing. But the really cool thing I want to show you guys as far as displaying this is you can put the Hubble itself into the Space Shuttle cargo bay. So we got the doors open. Now this requires a little bit of reconfiguring of the Hubble. So we're going to go ahead and take it off its platform. Now, when the Hubble was in the cargo bay, these solar foils weren't expanded. They were collapsed in. So LEGO did something really cool with this. Let me show you if I can get this back together because it's all falling apart. There we go. Now this is a little bit difficult to do, but I'll show you. It's really neat. So these are going to come off. And at the very tail end, you saw me building these two little like stick-like pieces. These are actually those solar powered foils not extended, just like it was in the payload bay. So it's going to look like this. It's like that. Now, in order to get the stand right here, which we built to fit into the Hubble, we got to take these two bits off here, these little two claw thingies. Get that. And we also have to take off this piece here. Where is it? There we go. It's going to be right there. We're going to take that guy off. And what that does is exposes a little bit of a crevice, which this is going to fit into. Boom. So it's going to sit like that. Now, in the cargo bay here, there's a little spot towards the back where the stand can hook onto. I'll bring this a little bit closer. And of course, you know, you have to have the Canada arm out, right? Because that's what put the Hubble into space. So we plop the Hubble right on its display stand. And there we go. We're going to hook the Canada arm up to it like that just to kind of make it look like we're about to take it out. And that is going to do it. That looks really cool. That is one of the cooler displays I've seen of a LEGO set. I mean, it's got so many options. It's really neat. I think I'm going to put it up on a display case like this, change it around as my moods go. But that is it for Space Shuttle Discovery, the STS-31 mission that launched the Hubble into space. And just to wrap up, back to Kennedy Space Center.
All right, this is it, guys. This is so cool. Like I said, we've been working the last few weeks on a space shuttle, and we're going to get to see an actual real-life space shuttle, the Atlantis, that has been to space and back. I'm super pumped for this. Well, there she is, guys. That is Atlantis, the actual Space Shuttle Atlantis, the full-scale version of the project we've been working on the last few weeks. There's the Canada arm that we worked on. That's the, of course, the multi-level cockpit right there that we talked about. And I'm going to point out these guys right up here. If you remember the last episode, I talked about the RMS, OMS engines. So they have a couple of them right there. Those control the movement of small movements of the space shuttle. But you see in here we have the cargo bay, and this thing is just huge, absolutely massive. Like I can't even begin to describe how big this thing is. I can't get it in one shot even. So I mean, you read about how big a space shuttle is, but you don't actually get it until you see it. And down here, of course, we have the wing leading edges that we talked about. We go further back, we have the ailerons down at the very end of the shuttle that we built. And those right there are the RMS OMS pods that have some of the re-entry engines. Here's the tail with the rudder on it. I mean, this thing is just unbelievably massive. All the burn heat shields from its last mission. And of course, we're going to get around here to the engines. Now, these things are absolutely epic. All right, and here we have a much closer look of the engine. They actually split one open so you can see inside. It's obviously very much more complex than your standard car engine. It looks very, very difficult to service. I mean, you look at all the cables and everything that's going on there. You got your block up top. Of course, they still use spark plugs and everything like that because it is, at the end, it's fuel. Here is the full-size engine bell, and that thing's just insane. You know, I kind of got one look at it on the Atlantis, but we're gonna do this again. There you go. I mean, I could probably live in this thing. Honestly, if we take a look, this may be about the size of one of the Mercury capsules. It looks pretty darn close to that. So imagine this, maybe something a little bit larger, was just this right here was the first thing that took a guy up into space, right? For America. This is it. This is the size of a Mercury capsule. That's it. Then, however, like 40 years later, that's what they got. So they went from a capsule that's roughly that size to that. Unfreaking believable. I'd like to see if we can get a walkthrough of the cockpit here. Check this out. This is so cool. And here we go. I'm actually going to sit in one of the head seats. So as I mentioned before, it's not designed too much different from a regular airplane. If you've ever seen the inside of the airplanes, of course, you have down here you got your rudders. You have your yoke. Control up, down, left, right, missiles. Just kidding, these things didn't have missiles. Be cool if they did though. Got your heads-up display right there. You're focusing on it, and that reading is going to give you your airspeed, your direction, and how far away you are from the ground when you're landing. But it's got all sorts of stations for everybody to live and work in space. These are the screens that the astronauts would look out of when they were docking with the International Space Station. These kind of control finer movements. This controls the larger movement. Of course, you have lighting panels and everything. It's really cool. Everything in here, you can twist and turn, flick buttons. I probably just like crashed, but who knows? Who cares? But yeah, it's pretty cool. The cockpit obviously much roomier now. They split it in two so you can walk through it. But as you can see, it's much, much, much roomier than the capsules were. I'm going to try to back up and get the whole thing in, but I don't even know if I can in one shot. That's how big this shuttle is. It's just, they're huge. It's so cool looking, and the display they did here at Kennedy is just gorgeous. So there that is. And here we have to the left, I've kind of neglected this whole video to talk about the other part of the set that we worked on, but we have the Hubble telescope. Right there, this is actually a full-size replica of it as well. So we have the refractory door. Of course, we have the solar panels that keep it moving. So, let's not forget about this part. Probably the most famous telescope in existence, the Hubble. All right, so check this out. This is a 3/8 size of the International Space Station. And you know what? It doesn't say there's no weight limit. It doesn't say there's no size limit. So we're going to head on in and see what we can see in a very, very tiny replica of the ISS. Oh, getting too old for this. You see all these compartments with electronics all around it. And granted, you're not clawing on your knees and getting your knees scraped up here. You're floating through. But, this thing is big. Even at 3/8 scale, this thing's pretty big. Let's see if we can slide down on my butt here. Woo. Tell you what, this ain't no ball pit like a McDonald's. Sounds pretty cool. A little bit of a walkthrough.
and come out on the other end of a plexiglass tube to a unique view of the underbelly of Atlantis. Well, this is my cardio for the day. Let's move on to something else real quick.
Alright, so we've flown around in space, and now we're going to do our deorbit burn. So remember, I was talking about coming down the procedures they do to slow down. So we have your first S-turn, about 15,000 miles an hour. That slows us down to 8,300 miles an hour for the second S-turn. Of course, there's our sonic boom. It's almost perfectly timed. We have our third S-turn, gets us down to 2,500, and the fourth one that gets down to 2,000. Now we have to land. There's two ways we can get down here. We could walk down these stairs. You know what? I don't play with stairs. Here at PJ Builds Bricks, we play with slides.
I ain't getting on no slide.
So, as soon as it's our turn, we're going to head down this slide.
1 minute till touchdown. The pre-flare maneuver executed. Landing gear down and locked.
All right.
Touchdown. Now deploying.
Here we go. About to land our space shuttle. This looks like it's going to be very painful. Hey! Oh, good. I didn't crash and burn at the end. Whew, that was fun. We're standing outside the Atlantis Museum, if you will, right here. And there's something I want to show you, something really neat. So these are the bleachers that a lot of people will sit on to watch rocket launches nowadays. But I'm going to zoom in way down in the distance, probably, golly, probably a couple miles away. And you see that building, there's an American flag way down there. And what that is the Vehicle Assembly Building, or the VAB. That's where they put the space shuttle on the crawler, serve as the space shuttle before its launch, and they would move the crawler out from there to the launch pad. Well, all right, Brick Buddies, that's going to do it for this build of the Discovery space shuttle set, along with the Hubble telescope. You know, I had an absolute blast doing this, and I hope you guys enjoyed this trip to Kennedy Space Center. It's kind of a special little treat. I know it took a little bit to put this together, but I wanted to wait for a beautiful day like we had today in Florida. The last couple weeks have been a little bit iffy, so I didn't want to come out here and bring up some cloudy garbage for you guys. I wanted to make this look as beautiful as possible. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for your support. Thank you so much for watching and hanging out for me as I build this set. This is just going to be the first of many that we're going to be working on. Got a bunch of sets on the horizon, so stay tuned. As always, like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends all about it. We're going to grow this thing. We're going to make it bigger. Send in some music either to @PJBuildsBricks on Twitter or pjbuildsbricks@gmail.com, and I could use that for the build phases. But that being said, that's it for me for this series. A couple weeks we're going to be moving on to the next one. I'll see you then. And who knows, maybe there'll be something special in the end credits that might give us a preview for the next thing we're building. So, thank you guys again. Stay safe.